Jony recently gave me one of the prototypes of the device for the first time to take home, and I've been able to live with it. And I think it is the coolest piece of technology that the world will have ever seen.
The products that we're using to deliver and connect us to unimaginable technology, they're decades old.
Yeah.
And so it's just common sense to at least think, surely there's something beyond these legacy products.
We have like magic intelligence in the cloud. If I wanted to ask ChatGPT something right now about something we had talked about earlier, think about what would happen. I would like reach down, I would get on my laptop, I'd open it up, I'd launch a web browser, I'd start typing, and I'd have to like explain that thing, and I would hit enter, and I would wait, and I would get a response. And that is at the limit of what the current tool of a laptop can do. But I think this technology deserves something much better.
I think someone has swallowed Apple. Literally. OpenAI just made a $6.4 billion move that feels more like a challenge than an acquisition. They bought Jony Ive's AI hardware startup. And if you know who Jony Ive is, you already get why this matters. This is the designer behind the iPhone, the iPad, the MacBook, the guy who helped shape everything Apple became. Now he's teamed up with Sam Altman to build something completely new. Not an upgraded phone, not glasses, not a smart speaker. They're calling it a new category of device, built from the ground up for AI, and that alone should have Apple sweating. Because let's be honest, Apple has felt off lately. Vision Pro fizzled. Siri still struggles to compete with tools like ChatGPT. And just as they're trying to convince people they're serious about AI, their former design legend steps out of the shadows to build the next thing with the world's leading AI company. That's not subtle. That's a warning shot. Jony Ive has said today's tech feels outdated. He's not wrong. We access AI by opening our phones, tapping apps, typing prompts. It still feels like using a search engine. What Ive and Altman are working on is something different. A device that blends into daily life, one that understands context and responds naturally. A tool that's always ready without demanding your full attention. They haven't shown the hardware yet, and I think that's intentional. This isn't a gimmick launch. It's a quiet, serious effort to rethink our relationship with technology. From what we know, the prototype isn't a phone or a watch, more like a third device. Something ambient, lightweight, and AI native. That's exciting and risky. OpenAI has never shipped hardware. They don't have Apple's scale or manufacturing empire, but they do have momentum. And they have the guy who helped define Apple's golden era. The message here is clear. They're not chasing the iPhone. They're trying to move beyond it. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like someone might actually pull that off. So while Apple is still dominating today's market, OpenAI might be building the future. And if this works, it won't just shift consumer tech. It could mark the beginning of a world where we don't look at our devices anymore. We simply live with them. Let's break down what this device could be and why it could change everything.
And OpenAI has now agreed to buy Jony Ive's AI startup. It's called I.O.
We believe that as you birth this new era of AI, there's going to be new platforms and new substrates, the way people experience it.
Big deal because it is OpenAI's biggest deal, biggest acquisition, $6.5 billion. But it's OpenAI which is the leader in AI development.
Oh my God, this is probably the biggest story. The first thing I said when this broke yesterday, I was just like, wow. I could not believe this was happening.
OpenAI just bought Jony Ive's AI hardware startup for $6.4 billion. That's right, the Jony Ive. The guy who helped design the iPhone, the iMac, the iPad, the look and feel of almost everything Apple is known for. Now he's teaming up with Sam Altman to build a new kind of device, one that's powered by AI, built from the ground up, and designed to change the way we interact with technology. And if that doesn't sound like a threat to Apple, I don't know what does. Personally, I think this might be the first real attempt to move past the smartphone. Not just to make a better phone, but to make something totally different. Something that could replace it. And Apple knows it. Their stock dropped when this news hit. People are paying attention. So in this video, I want to break down what OpenAI just did, what this new device might actually be, and why this could be the start of a whole new tech war, one that Apple might not win.
However, there's also been this growing schism of thought around what's happening at Apple, this idea that the design-forward, innovative hardware products has gone since Jony Ive left the company, and now Jony Ive is here. We just saw that video of him with Sam Altman. He and Sam Altman are saying, we've created this amazing new product that is going to kind of wean you off the iPhone. It's going to be focused on AI, all the stuff that we talk about Apple kind of missing out on. Jony Ive is now bringing that as a potential rival over there. And at the same time, we've seen Apple kind of stumble out of the gate to get innovative products out. The Vision Pro has not exactly been the breakout product that Apple and so many other people probably hoped it would be. And then, of course, this year, that big artificial intelligence miss when they failed to deliver on that Siri upgrade. At the same time, we're seeing OpenAI, they're putting enormous pressure on themselves, guys. So they say whatever this mystery project is, they're saying what it's not. It's not a phone, it's not glasses, it's not something you wear, like that Humane pin that was a flop. This is going to be something else. And if they don't really knock our socks off here, this is going to look like a $6.5 billion blunder. At the same time, if they do knock our socks off, watch out, Apple.
Could it be socks?
It could be socks.
Jony Ive's basically been running this group or this agency or this firm called Love From. Let's call it a design agency or design firm. And with him at that group are many former Apple designers. And those people will be a part of this OpenAI initiative. We note in the Bloomberg story reported by Mark Gurman and Shireen Ghaffari that the model here is that there will be some independence. It will kind of be a standalone independent unit of OpenAI where Jony Ive has independence. But to go back to the root of your original question, when Jony Ive left Apple in 2019, the reporting and the suggestion from Apple CEO Tim Cook was that they would sort of continue to collaborate. So even though Jony Ive was not an employee of Apple, he'd almost be like a consultant. Remember, this is the guy that Steve Jobs once kind of labeled his spiritual partner. That's how closely aligned Jony Ive was to the history of Apple. But the OpenAI side of this fascinates me because this is a company that bites off a lot. Is it more than it can chew? Well, this is a big news story.
Yeah, but isn't that what tech and innovation disruption is all about, right? I mean, AI. Hey, in the story, though, Ed, it says OpenAI is going to create a product at a level of quality that, quote, has never happened before in consumer hardware. That's coming from Sam Altman. What might an AI-powered device be out of this duo or this collaboration?
Well, so there's 2 points here. You're getting at, is this going to be something very fancy and very expensive? I think they clearly are orienting this towards the high end of whatever device or wearables market there is. The form factor, we're told it is a range of devices. Is this a smartphone? Is it a wearable?
Right.
Don't know. The cautionary tale is in the modern era, AI devices outside of the smartphone format. You probably talked about at one time the Humane AI pin, which was a very chunky brooch with a camera on it, and that project did not go well at all. So I'm just really curious about the form factor. I largely interact with ChatGPT. I'm a big ChatGPT subscriber. I pay for it myself, $4.0, but I use it principally on my smartphone, which is an iPhone. So I don't know, but I think the idea is that the AI side of this, the software side, that leverages OpenAI's competences.
So right after this news broke, one of the first clips I saw was from Bloomberg, and the reaction was basically, wait, is this actually a big deal? And yeah, it is. Honestly, it might be the biggest move OpenAI has made since launching ChatGPT. They just dropped $6.5 billion in stock, not cash, to acquire a company that doesn't even have a product in the market yet. But what they did buy is Jony Ive and the team he built after leaving Apple. And if you're wondering why that matters, you have to remember, this is the guy who helped Steve Jobs create the iPhone, the iPod, the iMac, the Apple Watch, everything. His fingerprints are on every major piece of Apple hardware we've used for the last 20 years. And now he's not just working with OpenAI, He's leading the creative vision for all of it.
Charlie was the first person in the family to use ChatGPT, and he said, "You've got to meet Sam."
I met Johnny's family relatively quickly after meeting Johnny, and they were sort of just like, it was an impossibly lovely family. And I was just thinking what a privilege it is to really connect with somebody new, and it hasn't happened to me in a long time. And the reason I think that it happened is we had both a very strong shared vision. We maybe didn't know exactly where we were going to go, but like the direction of the force vector felt clear. And then this like deeply shared sense of values about what technology should be, when technology's been really good, when it's gone wrong.
I mean, that was in a way one of the basis, I think, for one of the reasons Sam and I clicked was, despite our wonderfully different journeys to this point, our motivations and values are completely the same. In my experience, if you're trying to have a sense of where you are going to end up, you shouldn't look at the technology, you should look at the people who are making the decisions. And you should look at what drives, motivates, and look at values.
San Francisco has been like a mythical place in American history, and maybe in world history in some sense. It is the city that I most associate with the sort of leading edge of culture and technology.
This city has enabled and been the place of the creation of so much.
The fact that all of those things happen in the Bay Area and not anywhere else on this gigantic planet we live on, I think is really not an accident. There's a lot of like weird, quirky details about geography that I think matter, that the way the city is set up.
You know, I mean, the absurd hills, why you would choose to actually put so much energy into building on this topography is insane.
That's massive. What's even more interesting is that this isn't just about a single product. In their announcement, they made it clear. They're not building a phone, they're not making glasses, and it's not going to be another pin or smart speaker. They said it's something completely new, something designed from the ground up for AI. And they made that statement in a video that honestly felt more like a short film than a press release.
I think there's something about San Francisco. You don't get to pick and choose freedom. Either you have, like, you let creative freedom be expressed in all of its weirdness, or you don't.
I feel I owe this city such an enormous debt of gratitude.
I want this to be democratized. I want everybody to have it. I don't want it to be the tiny percentage of the population that figures out how to use bad tools and is really smart. I want anybody to say, hey, I have this idea, and make it happen.
The responsibility that Sam bears is honestly beyond my comprehension. I have a sense of some of it. But I see him, and I have seen him over the last 2 years, shoulder that responsibility, I mean, late into the night. But what really struck me is what he's worrying about is not himself, and it's not his company. What I see you worrying about are other people, are about customers, about society, about culture. And to me, that tells me everything I want to know about someone.
You talk to people who use our latest model and say this is like genius level in every field, and you just have to put in the work to like pull it all together. But if you have a hard problem, you can have this like team of geniuses in all of their different disciplines, and they report, I'm 2 or 3 times more productive as a scientist than I was before. I'm 2 or 3 times faster to find a cure for cancer than I was before, because I have this incredible external brain. That just didn't exist 6 months ago. I think this will be one of these moments of just an absolute embarrassment of riches of what people go create for collective society.
I am absolutely certain that we are literally on the brink of a new generation of technology that can make us our better selves.
There's something different about the way this was presented. You can already feel Jony Ive's influence, not just in the look of the video, but in the tone of it. Calm, precise, human. It didn't feel corporate, it felt personal. Like they're not just building a device, but rethinking the entire relationship we have with our technology. And that's what really caught my attention. Because for years, the big question in AI has been, how do we interact with it? most of us still use AI the same way we use a search engine. We type, we get results. Even with voice tools, we're still going through apps and screens. Jony Ive and Sam Altman are trying to change that. They're trying to create a physical form, maybe even a whole category of devices, where AI is just there. Always available, easy, intuitive. They didn't reveal what the product is yet, and yeah, it could totally flop. There's real risk here. But if they get this right, it could change everything. The way we use AI, the way we design tech, even the way we think about devices like the iPhone. And I think Apple knows that. Because right when this announcement dropped, Apple's stock took a hit. And it wasn't small. It was a clear reaction to the idea that someone else might now be leading the next wave of innovation in hardware. And not just someone, but the very person who helped Apple get to where it is in the first place.
A couple weeks ago, he said, in 10 years, you might not need an iPhone because of AI. He said that. The iPhone company is saying you might not need an iPhone. And here we are, a company, OpenAI, saying we have a breakthrough here. We're going to show you next year what this magical hardware product that the designer of the iPhone came up with.
Look, there are a lot of people who would love to be untethered from their iPhone. Like there's this societal hunger to say, like, I know people who lock the device away on Friday nights and with teens and kids and all the rest of it. So I guess from that point of view, I could see a market fit. This also comes as we're hearing more about Apple's stalled efforts on the AI front.
Exactly. And so you got a double whammy here. You have Jony Ive, legend, right, in the design hardware group, and then you have this AI miss from Apple where it overpromised and just did not deliver on artificial intelligence, and no clue when that is actually going to come to fruition, all those promises that they made. At the same time, to your point about I'm tired of looking at my iPhone, I'm looking at too much, Jony Ive has talked about that. In fact, very recently has been saying, I kind of helped create this problem, now I'm trying to fix it. And we're going to see what that looks like next year.
What is like the Frankenstein problem, the analogy, I totally understand how that must feel for him to at once have created the most important product that now people are, it's the new cigarette.
I've created a monster.
And the biggest thing is they were blindsided when generative AI with ChatGPT and GitHub launched back in 2022, November 2022. I'm told Apple Intelligence wasn't even an idea back then.
Why?
Well, they missed the boat.
But how? I mean, I don't understand. Yeah.
Well, clearly there was philosophical disagreement and philosophical disinterest in the topic of artificial intelligence. I write about how Craig Federighi, Apple's senior VP of software engineering, doesn't really believe in these multi-billion-dollar projects. He tends to try to shut down or steer away from projects of that sort, and AI is something of that nature. AI is quite a bit messy. They're known for their very intricate and well-designed user experiences. AI, sometimes with hallucinations, can take away from that, but I think they didn't think it was going to be as big of a thing as it became today. A lot of it fell on deaf ears years ago, I'm told.
Those shares were down 7%, and it's really because of those comments that Apple's Eddie Q made, that searches in their browser fell for the first time in April. It is a significant moment in the whole anthology of where AI and search is going. Jim, you own the stock, Alphabet. Now, Apple has implications here too, and that stock is lower, and we can get to that in a minute, but this seems to be focused solely, or primarily, probably better said, on Alphabet, a stock that you own. What do you think?
It's obviously very new news, so I want to be careful about knee-jerking one way or the other. My inclination is to hold through this, particularly after the damage that's gone on in the last couple of hours. What I will note is that this drop, and you mentioned it doesn't happen that often, but it has happened before, and I'm thinking, Scott, to roughly 2 years ago, when there was a problem with Gemini, the search engine. Do you remember this? They misidentified, in some trial run, they misidentified a celestial object. Stock got absolutely clobbered, and it was the death knell supposedly for Google and its AI search, et cetera, et cetera. We've been talking ever since then about competitive threats, which so far have not impacted the financials of Google. Maybe someday they will. I want to go back to where I started. I'm not going to knee-jerk positive. I'm not going to knee-jerk negative.
Now here's where things get serious, because Apple is not in a good place when it comes to AI right now. And this deal with Jony Ive, it's not just another acquisition. It's a shot fired straight at Cupertino. Let's start with the obvious. Jony Ive is the guy who built the modern Apple product line. The iPhone, the MacBook, the iPod, the Apple Watch. That's all him. And now, he's officially joined forces with OpenAI to work on what he's calling the next generation of devices. Something not based around screens or traditional apps, but a completely different way to interact with tech, where AI is ambient, intuitive, and always present. That's a problem for Apple because right now, their AI story is pretty weak. Siri has been around for over a decade, and it still struggles with basic tasks. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is eating Siri's lunch. People are literally asking Siri to talk to ChatGPT for them. That says everything. And yes, Apple announced their Apple Intelligence partnership with OpenAI recently, integrating ChatGPT into Siri and other tools. But it's very clear now that OpenAI has its own hardware ambitions. This isn't just a partner anymore. It's a potential competitor. You could see it in the markets. When this acquisition was announced, Apple stock dropped almost 2%. Not because of some broad market trend, but because investors saw what this really means. Jony Ive, the man who helped define Apple's identity, has now joined the very company that could replace the iPhone. That's more than just competition. That's symbolic. And I think what bothers Apple most isn't just that they lost Ive, it's who he chose to go to.
This city has enabled and been the place of the creation of so much.
The fact that all of those things happen in the Bay Area and not anywhere else on this gigantic planet we live on, I think is really not an accident. There's a lot of like weird, quirky details about geography that I think matter, that the way the city is set up.
You know, I mean, the absurd hills, why you would choose to actually put so much energy into building on this topography is insane.
I think there's something about San Francisco. You don't get to pick and choose freedom. Either you have, like, you let creative freedom be expressed in all of its weirdness, or you don't.
I feel I owe this city such an enormous debt of gratitude.
I want this to be democratized. I want everybody to have it. I don't want it to be the tiny percentage of the population that figures out how to use bad tools and is really smart. I want anybody to say, hey, I have this idea, and make it happen.
The responsibility that Sam bears is honestly beyond my comprehension. I have a sense of some of it. But I see him, and I have seen him over the last 2 years, shoulder that responsibility. I mean, late into the night. But what really struck me is what he's worrying about is not himself, and it's not his company. What I see you worrying about are other people, are about customers, about society, about culture. And to me, that tells me everything I want to know about someone.
You talk to people who use our latest model and say this is like genius level in every field, and you just have to put in the work to like pull it all together. But if you have a hard problem, you can have this like team of geniuses in all of their different disciplines, and they report, I'm 2 or 3 times more productive as a scientist than I was before. I'm 2 or 3 times faster to find a cure for cancer than I was before, because I have this incredible external brain. That just didn't exist 6 months ago. I think this will be one of these moments of just an absolute embarrassment of riches of what people go create for collective society.
I am absolutely certain that we are literally on the brink of a new generation of technology that can make us our better selves.
Let's look at what we know about OpenAI's new device. It's expected to be a small, pocket-sized device with no screen, likely resembling the iPod Shuffle. It may not sound like much, but that's exactly the point. In a world filled with screens, this device is designed to be something different. It won't be your typical smartphone or wearable. Instead, it will be contextually aware, using built-in cameras and microphones to understand its surroundings and learn from them. This kind of aware technology has the potential to change everything. This device could be the start of a new category of products, something that combines AI, voice commands, and seamless integration with our existing tech ecosystem. What's particularly exciting is that it won't replace your smartphone or computer. Rather, it will work in harmony with them, helping you interact with your other devices in a more natural and fluid way. With OpenAI and Jony Ive's expertise behind it, we can be sure that this device will push the boundaries of what's possible with AI and technology. And though we don't yet know all the details, what we do know is enough to get us excited for the future of AI-powered devices.
Well, they are not saying what it is. I think the first product is going to be a home device. At some point, I expect them to follow up with a mobile device. But these are basically smart products specifically for tapping into ChatGPT. It's basically using ChatGPT as the new interface after the visual operating system. Now it's the speech-based operating system. And so I think this is something that at some point is going to become popular. Immediately, it's not going to jettison the iPhone or the MacBook. But at some point, this is going to become the future and make the future something of that time, of that current era, whenever it becomes popular. Now, you mentioned the Apple shares declining. I want to simplify it a little bit. So Jony Ive left Apple in 2019, 6 years ago, right? He was the face of the company. He was the face of their hardware. In terms of the top two most important people at Apple, it was him and Tim Cook, and before that, it was him and Steve Jobs. He was known as Jobs' spiritual partner. They worked on everything together. They designed everything together. He leaves. Tim Cook pitches the idea to Wall Street because they were afraid, obviously, of Ive leaving, that Apple and Ive are going to work together. He made it as such that nothing's really going to change. He's just not a formal employee, right? Well, they ended up doing nothing together. And now he's working with the company that many people at Apple believe could ultimately put a pin in the iPhone.
Now, let's dive deeper into what this partnership between OpenAI and Jony Ive truly means. OpenAI has already made waves in the AI landscape with the introduction of ChatGPT, but the collaboration with Ive takes things to an entirely new level. For the first time, OpenAI is stepping into the realm of consumer hardware with a device that could disrupt the market in ways we can't even fully imagine yet. While the details remain somewhat under wraps, there are a few key pieces of information we can work with. OpenAI's upcoming device is expected to be pocket-sized, screenless, and contextually aware. The device will likely be powered by OpenAI's latest AI model, enabling it to interact with the user in real time and even respond to its environment. Through built-in cameras and microphones, this device will gather information about its surroundings and adapt to them, providing a more personalized, intuitive experience. What's most fascinating about this device is how it's designed to integrate with other devices, smartphones, computers, and possibly more. Rather than replacing existing technology, it's intended to enhance the way we interact with everything else. Whether you're using it to interact with your smartphone or to control your home devices, this AI-powered companion will create a seamless connection between all of your devices, making it easier to live in a world that's increasingly dependent on technology.
Speaking of that, what replaces what in the future, I want to pull up this take by Josh Wolf, of course, venture capitalist a lot of people keep their eye on. He says that in his opinion, the Mag 7 just becomes MOG, Meta, OpenAI, and Google, which is a very unfortunate thing for stock investors at this current moment because OpenAI is not publicly traded. Mark, I mean, what is the potential here for OpenAI to really take out one of the big guys in the future with the ability to create real devices?
I think it's extremely high, honestly. I mean, Apple has well over 1 billion customers, so this is going to be a slow roll. They're not going to go anywhere in the next few years, but they're playing with fire here. If they don't find a way to catch up in artificial intelligence and make it a real core technology in the company, they're in big trouble. This is equivalent to 15 years ago if Samsung wasn't able to release a device with a touchscreen. AI is as core to the next wave of technology as the touchscreen has been to the last wave of technology. And don't forget, that's what the iPhone was. It was a touchscreen. The iPad, a touchscreen. Lots of computers are touchscreens. That's the equivalent here.
The decision to work with Jony Ive on this device is a strategic one. Ive's track record speaks for itself, with his designs shaping the very fabric of modern consumer electronics. But his involvement is about more than just design. It's about vision. Ive has a remarkable ability to think beyond the immediate and create products that become an intrinsic part of our lives. This device will likely follow that same philosophy, offering something that's not just useful, but indispensable. In fact, this device could signal a shift in how we think about technology entirely. If the goal is to create a new generation of AI-powered computers, then OpenAI is aiming to create a product that doesn't just enhance existing tools, but redefines them. This could be the start of a shift away from traditional screen-based computing to something much more integrated and intuitive. It's worth noting that this is about creating a consumer product that can reach a broader audience. OpenAI is building a product that's meant to be used by the masses, not just the tech elite. This device, despite being highly advanced, could be accessible to anyone who wants to tap into the power of AI to enhance their creativity, productivity, or daily life. And what does this mean for the future of AI-powered devices? Well, if this device succeeds, it could set the stage for a whole new category of products that combine AI, portability, and context-aware technology. Whether it's helping us manage our tasks more efficiently, providing real-time insights based on our surroundings, or enhancing the way we interact with other devices, the possibilities are vast. What's particularly interesting is how OpenAI's move into hardware is reflective of the growing trend toward physical AI. Companies like NVIDIA and Amazon have been working hard to embed AI into physical devices, and OpenAI's device could be the next major leap in that direction. In a way, this device marks the next chapter in AI's journey from something abstract to something tangible. And just like the iPhone revolutionized the way we use smartphones, this new device could revolutionize the way we interact with AI. OpenAI isn't just the next startup in line. It's the company at the center of the biggest shift in tech since the smartphone itself. And when you look at how flat Apple's product innovation has felt lately, especially with the underwhelming Vision Pro and all the missed momentum in AI, it's starting to feel like Apple is falling behind for the first time in years. There's also this emotional shift happening. Apple used to be the company that felt magical. It made devices that were personal and elegant. But lately, it feels like they've lost that spark. And now, Jony Ive is bringing that design philosophy, that sense of humanity and simplicity, to OpenAI. You can even feel it in the video they released. It wasn't flashy, it was thoughtful, it had a mood, a vibe, and that matters. Some people are already calling this the beginning of the end for the iPhone. I wouldn't go that far, not yet. But I do think this marks the end of Apple being untouchable. The crown is no longer safe, and OpenAI knows that. You don't spend $6.5 billion on design unless you're planning to change the game.
I started talking about what the future of AI and new kinds of computers was going to look like. I was running OpenAI. Johnny's running a design firm called Love From that had established itself as really the, I think, densest collection of talent that I've ever heard of in one place and probably has ever existed in the world. And it became very quickly apparent to both of us that we needed a third company.
A year ago, I founded IO with Scott Cannon, Evans Hankey, and Tang Tan, who are the most extraordinary engineers. They have built a team of remarkable subject matter experts that range from hardware and software engineering, physicists, researchers, product manufacturing experts. And so IO is merging with OpenAI.
Formed with the mission of figuring out how to create a family of devices that would let people use AI to create all sorts of wonderful things.
The first one we've been working on, I think, has just completely captured our imagination.
You know, Johnny called one day and said, "This is the best work our team has ever done." Yeah. I mean, Johnny did the iPhone. Johnny did the MacBook Pro. I mean, these are like the defining ways people use.
So now the big question is, what is this thing actually going to be? We still don't know exactly. They haven't shown the hardware yet, and from everything Sam Altman and Jony Ive have said so far, it sounds like it won't be a phone. It's not a pair of glasses, and it's probably not a wearable either. At least not in the way we're used to thinking about them. Apparently, Ive isn't a fan of that approach. He's even publicly criticized devices like the Humane AI Pin and the Rabbit R1, calling them very poor products. So whatever this is, it's not going to be a clip-on badge with a camera or some startup gimmick. From what's been reported, the prototype that Sam Altman has been using is something you'd keep on your desk or in your pocket. A third device, not replacing your laptop or phone right away, but sitting right alongside them. Something unobtrusive, something ambient. Maybe something that just listens, understands your context, and responds when you need it to. That's honestly the most exciting part. We might be looking at the beginning of an entirely new product category, something that doesn't rely on a screen at all.
It's Jony Ive, the man behind the creation of the iPhone, teaming up with Sam Altman of OpenAI this week in what could be a potential threat to the big tech companies that are searching for AI supremacy, with Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon all investing internally and externally to achieve those goals.
We've seen from Sam Altman and OpenAI before. Last year, before Google I/O, they also released another product. And so this is just really their same playbook, but they really upped the ante this year because they announced this acquisition on the second day of Google I/O this week. The company that they acquired is called I/O. So when you go on X, someone noted that if you typed in I/O, it's not Google I/O that comes up, it's this acquisition. I think with the larger picture for I think Sam Altman and OpenAI is, they're getting into a space that they could really disrupt the rest of big tech, because if you own the device, if you own the actual entry point into the AI systems that, we're using more and more, there is no reason for you to go and use Gemini or, use Siri, another phone, and to take, this very beloved figure in consumer product tech design.
OpenAI is on the brink of revolutionizing the way we interact with AI. While most of the tech world is focused on software, OpenAI is stepping into the hardware arena, and they've teamed up with Jony Ive to do it. So, what's the big deal? How will OpenAI's new device change everything we know about AI and technology?
I think we have the opportunity here to kind of completely reimagine what it means to use a computer.
Sam is a rare visionary. He shoulders incredible responsibility, but his curiosity, his humility remain utterly inspiring.
Jony is the deepest thinker of anyone I've ever met. What that leads him to be able to come up with is unmatched.
I moved to America drawn by the exhilarating optimism of San Francisco and Silicon Valley.
We are sitting at the beginning of what I believe will be the greatest technological revolution of our lifetimes.
I have a growing sense that everything I have learned over the last 30 years has led me to this place and to this moment.
Yeah. Morning, John.
Hey, Sam. Good. How you doing? Good.
So what is this announcement we're talking about?
2 years ago, John and I started talking about what the future of AI and new kinds of computers was going to look like. I was running OpenAI. Johnny was running a design firm called Love From that had established itself as really the, I think, densest collection of talent that I've ever heard of in one place and probably has ever existed in the world. And it became very quickly apparent to both of us that we needed a third company.
A year ago, I founded I/O with Scott Cannon, Evans Hankey, and Tang Tan, who are the most extreme extraordinary engineers. They have built a team of remarkable subject matter experts that range from hardware and software engineering, physicists, researchers, product manufacturing experts. And so I/O is merging with OpenAI.
Formed with the mission of figuring out how to create a family of devices that would let people use AI to create all sorts of wonderful things.
Rarely does a single product announcement mark such a significant shift in the landscape of technology. But OpenAI's unveiling of its first device is exactly that kind of moment. We're witnessing the convergence of two technological powerhouses, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and Jony Ive, a designer known for his transformational impact on products like the iPhone and MacBook. This collaboration is about rethinking how we interact with technology, how we experience AI, and how these elements will shape the future of our lives. For years, we've been limited by the tools we use to access AI. Laptops, smartphones, and desktops, though powerful, were never designed with AI as the focal point. But OpenAI's new device is set to change all of that. This is a shift in how we experience technology. The device represents the beginning of a new era. AI is no longer something that resides in the cloud, only accessible through traditional interfaces. This device puts AI directly into the hands of the user, bringing us closer to the dream of intuitive, seamless interaction with machine intelligence. Imagine a device that doesn't just execute commands. It becomes a tool that works with you in real time to create, explore, and innovate.
The first one we've been working on, I think, has just completely captured our imagination.
You know, Jony called one day and said, "This is the best work our team's ever done." I mean, Jony did the iPhone. Jony did the MacBook Pro. I mean, these are like the defining ways people use technology. It's hard to beat those things. Those are really wonderful. Jony recently gave me one of the prototypes of the device for the first time to take home, and I've been able to live with it. And I think it is the coolest piece of technology that the world will have ever seen.
The products that we're using to deliver and connect us to unimaginable technology, they're decades old.
Yeah.
And so it's just common sense to at least think, surely there's something beyond these legacy products.
We have like magic intelligence in the cloud. If I wanted to ask ChatGPT something right now about something we had talked about earlier, think about what would happen. I would like reach down, I would get on my laptop, I'd open it up, I'd launch a web browser, I'd start typing, I'd have to like explain that thing, and I would hit enter and I would wait and I would get a response. And that is at the limit of what the current tool of a laptop can do. But I think this technology deserves something much better.
So how did it all begin?
So my son Charlie was the first person in the family to use ChatGPT, and he said, "You've got to meet Sam."
I met Jony's family relatively quickly after meeting Jony, and they were sort of just like, it was an impossibly lovely family. And I was just thinking what a privilege it is to really connect with somebody new, and it hasn't happened to me in a long time. And the reason I think that it happened is we had both a very strong shared vision. We maybe didn't know exactly where we were going to go, but like the direction of the force vector felt clear. And then this like deeply shared sense of values about what technology should be, when technology's been really good, when it's gone wrong.
I mean, that was in a way one of the basis, I think, for one of the reasons Sam and I clicked was, despite our wonderfully different journeys to this point, our motivations and values are completely the same. In my experience, if you're trying to have a sense of where you are going to end up, you shouldn't look at the technology, you should look at the people who are making the decisions. And you should look at what drives, motivates, and look at values.
Sam Altman has always been vocal about his belief that AI will be the driving force behind the next era of technological advancement. But what makes this announcement truly noteworthy is not just the vision, but the responsibility that comes with it.